You got it.
Just a little bit.
We can hear you.
You can hear me,
Okay.
right?
So I'll just lead off with the obvious question. How did you become involved with this project?
In 1989, I was sitting in my office, and my partner said, just send us a script. It's really funny. And I said, well, let's look at the script. And I read the script, and it was so insane. I mean, these guys, fish, and these guys, you guys are nuts. I said, but it's crazy enough that it could probably work. And what was weird is, I've made a lot of movies over the years. I've done over 50 movies. This was the easiest movie to get made I've ever worked on. When we'd send it to a studio, they said, we love it. They gave us the green light. They gave us the money. We went to a couple of cities. We picked Tulsa because I'd been to Tulsa a few years prior making a movie called The Outsiders. And so I brought everybody back to Tulsa to do UHF. And that's how we got to Tulsa.
Okay, go ahead. Let's take some questions. Hello?
I'm from Oklahoma City and born and raised in Oklahoma, and then left as soon as I got out of college because I could hardly wait to get out of Oklahoma. Now I've moved back, and I'm in heaven.
All right. Guys, if everyone asks a question, would you mind throwing your hand up? I could not tell where that last voice was coming from. It just completely freaked me out. So, questions, please, anybody. This is your shot. This is your moment. Yeah, in the back.
I've heard in the commentary there's a lot of deep scenes I think make the final cut. Did you have anything where you said this is too ridiculous for the movie, we can't do this, or anything like that, or just did the writer's agreement on that?
Well, there's one that I don't know if I can even mention.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Everybody here's a Democrat, liberal, right?
In Oklahoma.
Oh, go.
Go on.
No, I'm not ready.
Tell it.
Go for it.
Tell it.
Yeah. This involves a local actor, right? Where's Stefan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slap the gay. It's not real politically correct. The studio wouldn't let it happen. But someone said it's on a DVD. Has anybody seen that?
It's on the, like the 10-year anniversary edition of deleted scenes.
Oh, it is. Has it funny? Does it work?
I don't think it was called Slap the Gay. It was called like Hanging with the Homies or something. And it had something with like fly swatters.
Fly swatters, yeah.
Really not.
Hanging with the homies is what I think it was. Yeah. Is that an insane movie or what? Go ahead.
When people talk about the difficult part of being a producer, we say, oh, it's the raising of the money. What's something that's not talked about?
Really, the producer is the first person involved in a movie, putting it together, and he's the last person off of the movie. I mean, a cameraman or an actor or crew people, they go on to the next movies. Producers live with, hey, I'm still here. 25 years later, you live with that movie. It's like your own child. And so you're involved in every aspect. The director has tunnel vision. All he does, if he's shooting a scene here, he's looking through the lens of the camera, and he's got the people, and he's got the dialogue, and he's watching how the scene's going. Everything that's going around behind him, all the trucks and the transportations and the crew and the money and the cash flow and the props and the set dressing and the wardrobe and everything is being run by management or business. That's what the producer does.
So the director's looking through the camera and the producer's looking at his watch.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Other questions? Yes, sir. Right.
How much money did you need to produce this movie?
It was a $5 million budget.
Now, in that era, in that time, how does that stack up against what it cost today?
was still pretty reasonable back then. It probably today would be 10 million. And we got a lot of bang for the buck. We had a lot of special effects and. Yeah, go ahead.
Where exactly was the billboard for Spatula City located?
knows this?
You know, I don't know.
Should it be a landmark?
Who knows where that
Warehouse
was?
Market on South Peoria, I believe.
No, the
So
billboard.
South Peoria,
Oh, wow.
what did a
This
supermarket?
is supposedly off of 169.
I saw one on the way to Broken Arrow today.
Special City? Really?
I'm 36 now, but I grew up with this film. I was like 12 when it came out, and it was like one of my go-to like movies as a kid. But when I think of like all my other friends say Kramer, and I say Stanley Spadowski, and all my other friends say the nanny, and I say Pamela Tinkelstein. So I just wanted to know, like with the casting of it, like did somebody come to you and say we have this guy named Michael Richards, it's really funny, or I mean, like do you feel like proud that you kind of brought out some of these people that ended up being like pretty big name stars? And I just wanted to know how that all started.
I don't take credit for that at all. Al and Jay, the director, who's I do, I got to tell you about that, but they do both of them from stand-up comedy. They went to all the comedy stores and cast a lot of the people, and they were more involved in the casting, and I was more involved about where the casting was going to take place and how much we were going to pay the casting director.
Are you working on any projects now?
Oh yeah, I've never stopped. I keep doing movies all the time.
What do you think of the movies that are being produced today? What do you think of the types of movies that are?
Well, I like a lot of them. I think television is becoming great. I love some of the television shows, Homeland and some of the cable shows. I think there's movie quality now.
Do you think the cast members are going to get any residuals now that it's the 25-year anniversary?
Are you a cast member? You're supposed to be. You're supposed to be over there.
I have a job I'm supposed to do. Anybody who's involved in the cast, please just stand up real quick. And the crew, if you're already standing, just pretend you were in the show. There you go. Okay.
Who were you in the cast?
Spatula Neighbor. I thought it come with a Golden Spatula Award for Lifetime Achievement. Spatula City's closed.
Where aren't you getting autographs?
There's a hand that's been up way in the back there, sir.
When is UHF 2 going to come out?
We did a television interview this morning, and they asked Al that, and he said, whoever's willing to donate the money for the budget, we're ready to do it.
We're working on a copy now.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Exactly. Somebody on the side there, yeah.
Well, that question about the producer got me thinking about another one. What exactly is the executive producer?
The producers are all producers. The executive producer and producers really started with the studio system. The studios had producers, directors, writers, actors, stars, cameramen, grips, electricians. Everybody was on staff. And when the studio system fell apart, people became independent agents, and producers would put together projects to go sell to the studio to get funded. And they realized that it would take them like a year to put the picture together, another year to shoot it, and a year to get it finished in post-production. So 3 years they were working on the movie. So by the time those 3 years went by, their producers' fees were gone. So they bring in other producers so they could keep developing new projects, and the other producers would make the movies. So that's how the different producer credits came about.
You mentioned the initial budget of $5 million, and I think Al said in the commentary the first weekend it made 2.1. So you obviously lost money on the release, but over the last 25 years, has it recouped that amount of money and been successful?
You know, they don't tell us. It was Orion Pictures, who is now gone belly up, and is now owned by MGM. And he's got to be making money. Is it DVDs or it's a classic? You think it, but we haven't seen any of it. We don't own the movie. MGM owns it, or Orion did, and now. But no, it was a disappointment. It came out in the summer when all the big movies, Indiana Jones and Batman, all those big movies, so we just couldn't compete.
Who selects the release date for it?
They did.
They did. They're dumb.
They were really high on it. They thought it was going to be a big hit, but we were just beat up by all the big movies that came out that same within a month of this. And the theater owners don't keep it around if it's not performing. You know, if you got Indiana Jones in one theater and this in the other, and there's lines outside for Indiana Jones and no one's seeing this,
Well, they were in the wrong line.
you're gone.
Other questions? Now, don't go home filled with regrets because you didn't ask that question you know you want to ask.
I got one up here.
Go ahead.
What's your favorite scene in the movie? What makes you laugh still?
Boy, that's a good question. The dog in the punch bowl always gets and of course, the poodles. And the ant farm. There's a lot of laughs in this movie. And you know, this movie really, if you think about it, it's blazed a trail. There was no such thing as reality shows or the same kind of. Look at all the TV shows now that try to do the same kind of thing that we were doing in this movie 25 years ago. Yeah.
Go ahead, and then we'll go back there. Go ahead, please.
Other than the success of The Outsiders, what was another reason for Fall City Media City was being shot?
I'm from Oklahoma. I want to come home and do it. And I'll tell you, it was an easy, wonderful place to work. I tell people that Oklahoma, the entire state of Oklahoma is like your own big back lot. You can do almost anything you want. We shut down I-40 one time for a scene in a movie. Barry Fallon just called the highway patrol and said, shut it down. We were taking cut. I can't do that. That's an enemy. Oklahoma's great for making movies.
Okay, except for like the main parts, like when with the airport scene and all that, was there any thought behind like the different locations, like why you chose it? I know you said that you brought it back to Oklahoma. Was it places that stuck out to you when you were growing up, or what was the different selection process?
No, I'm from Oklahoma City, and there was nothing that stuck out for me. Once we got here, a lot of the sets were built in the Kensington Mall out in 75th. And we stayed in that hotel, and we just walked from our hotel room down into the mall, and we had all these sets built in the mall, and we shot a lot of picture right there in the mall. And then we went to some houses around at the airport and the Burger Barn and those places. We found the location. People found them.
In the back, I think we have time maybe for one more or possibly two brief questions.
So you had said that it was really easy to greenlight this picture, and I kind of had a hard time believing that was the case, just after watching it and considering all the movies that came out that summer. How did you pitch this, where it was just, yeah, here's some money?
We just sent them the script and said, how would you like to make this movie? Never has it been that easy for us to get a movie greenlit. They read it, said, let's go, let's do it. The script was wonderful. I mean, as you can see, the movie was wonderful.
Let's go to you. I know you had another question, but you had other questions.
Yeah.
Al was about my age when he made this movie. What was it like working with a 30-ish Al Yankovic? And I know that he's kind of a perfectionist in his own work. So what was he like then?
He was so wonderful to work with. And he said, yeah, I have my nap times. We would be shooting a scene, and they'd say, okay, that's a cut, that was good, okay, move on. And we'd move the camera position someplace else. And we look over, and he'd be on the floor, sleeping. And drips and electricians were stepping over him and running cable. And he would lie there and sleep. So they said, okay, we're ready for Al. He'd jump up and do the scene. And then when that was over, he'd lie down and go to sleep. It was great.
Let's give a big hand. Okay, so again, this is your opportunity to ask some questions.
I asked a great question from this. I'm not going to give you this answer, though. I was asking about deleted scenes. And you co-wrote the movie with Al. Is there one scene that you have in the movie that you wish stayed in that was deleted?
No, it's pretty tight. There was one thing when we were writing the script we absolutely knew it was not going to get, and it was so totally politically incorrect. You know this then, right, from the commentary. When we were doing the promo for all the TV shows. So one of the TV shows was Those Darn Homos. And we just thought it was a stitch, and believe me, neither of us are homophobic. I mean, it was just a funny bit. But we knew from the start, and of course, the minute the studio saw the script, it was like, you can't do that. Oh, really? So we did. We filmed it, but we couldn't end up. We knew it was not going to end up.
That was the answer you gave, by the way.
That was the same answer that Craig gave? Yeah. Well, because it's the right answer.
The process of working with Al, as you develop the script, how did it go?
The process of writing it, he and I have very, very different styles. Al is intensely deliberate. He's like a scientist. He views comedy as a scientist would view his petri dish, and I'm much more, I shoot from the hip. I'm just, that's just my personality. So when we would write the script, we'd get together every day. In the afternoon, I'd work in the morning because as some of you may know, I've been managing now for all this time. So I'd be a manager in the morning, and then I'd go write a script with him in the afternoon. And so we'd get together, and the process was really pretty much all the same in terms of how we each approach it, which is that I would just throw something out there, and he'd think. He's playing the scene, and I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs, And after, it might be like 3, 4, silence to go, yeah, that'll work. Or, no, that's not going to work, So it's like, it was this really interesting sort of stop and start thing because of our styles being so completely different. But it worked out, obviously. Yeah, we were happy.
Yes, please.
My daughter's kind of the expert on this, but she was telling me that there were some extra scenes with Trinidad Silva that you had planned that maybe didn't get to be produced.
Boy, if there were, I don't remember. Honestly, Al might remember that. He's got much better memory than I do. I don't remember that.
Being that he's such a physical actor, Michael Richards, what was it like to try to direct him?
A sheer joy because he was so incredibly talented. He is so incredibly talented. Michael's a sweetheart of a guy. He was a little bit, he could get testy, like many if not most actors kind of are very sensitive about, when they're about to do a scene and what their work, how they portray their work. And so I wouldn't ever even, in saying that, say it in a negative sense. He's just very sensitive. And there are times during the shooting that he got maybe a little oversensitive, and we have to reel him in just a little bit. But that's really nothing unusual with talent, with actors and talent. He's a real sweetheart, and it's a sheer tragedy what happened in his career, because he is one of the sweetest, kindest, nicest people you will ever meet, and that whole strange thing that at this point, what is it, 10 years ago? But, he had an outburst, for those people you probably know, in a comedy club. They got caught by somebody on their cell phone, and in my mind, it was pure performance art, because that's what Michael is about. He doesn't have a racist bone in his body. What would have been on paper sounding like a racist comment. That's not him. But it's like these days you can't cut a break. It's really a shit.
Yeah. Speaking of Michael Richards, the scene where he is eating cornflakes and he just gets that is like, here's some stuff real quick.
Yes, in fact, that directly ties in with the question of what was it like to work with him. Because he had, so here's the story. Michael, to get into character, wore these teeth. You can't, I don't know if you know that, I don't remember if it's in the commentary, is it?
Yes.
It is. So that's how, and, they aren't so over the top that it looks, obvious, but if you look, and especially if you know, oh yeah, you can tell that those, they may not be real. And so that's how he would get into character. And stay in character, of course, and he wore those teeth. And in my mind, Stanley was not about the teeth, although certainly I totally supported and understood what he was doing there. It was great. But it just helped him, I thought, more than anything. Anyway, we did the whole when Stanley hits big, and he's doing the whole big scene with the fire hose and all that. Go back and look, and you'll see that he's not wearing his teeth throughout that whole scene. And what happened, it was just one of those classic, you're in the middle of a low-budget movie, you've got to hurry. It's like, because time is money and all that stuff. There's a lot of pressure with making a low-budget film. There's a lot of pressure with making a big-budget film, too. And it was like, gotta go. And we went, and he had forgotten. And at the end of the shoot day, said, oh my God, I was not wearing my teeth. I was like, but it was great, Michael. But he was so upset by that he kind of like, it was almost sort of like the classic, I'm going to lock myself in my trailer kind of thing. Which lasted 5 minutes, by the way. Again, he's the greatest guy. But that's what happened. And so one of the things that we knew that he was frustrated about was the lack of improv. We had a script, and we thought the script worked, and we wanted people to follow the script, including him, and he's an improv artist. And so to kind of reel him in from that day, and because it was a good idea anyway, we said, hey, Michael, you wanted to do some improv, we want that too, and we're just going to set you up, and we want you to go for it. And that's what that scene was. It completely was improv by him. None of it was written. He was like, give me some, I don't know, he was cornflakes, give me some string, whatever that he had. It was sort of like, it was on the spot. It was brilliant, and of course we used it.
In the back and from down here.
Did David Bowe actually swallow the Twinkie Wiener sandwich?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, Circle Cinema.
I was going to say, will you talk about your cameo in the film?
My cameo. Yeah, well, what happened there was that I don't know, I didn't want to do it. I felt like, come on, I've got a job to do here. I want to think about it, And Al was saying to me throughout, we kept trying to cast Gandhi, and we couldn't find anybody that we could do it. And I certainly was, it's not like I was holding out, hoping. In fact, he was sort of nudging me the whole time. No, you should do this. You look the part, and it'll be great. And I'm like, no, that's fine. And it got, after weeks, we still weren't happy, and I finally kind of relented, and I said, all right, well, for the sake of the movie, I guess I'm going to do it, because it's true that we haven't found anybody that I can probably do a decent job, and it'll be fun. So I'm glad I did it. It was a lot of fun. But I'm terribly disappointed that, I was never cast in a Gandhi or really any other
saw the end result of the movie, but as the director, you were there with him all the time, filming every day. Do you remember anything? You were with him all the time. Do you remember anything memorable or funny that happened behind the scenes that we didn't get to experience?
You know, I don't know about other movies, but it was all business. You know what I mean? It's like you've got to get this movie made, and so there's so much of it is just it's about like getting it made, and it's sort of like the old homage of like comedy is serious business. Well, this is an extension. The movie making business is like that, where you got to get it made. So there's not a lot to tell, except I guess the main thing about Ella was is like Gray was, I don't know if you already said this, but it's sort of like you turn around and Al was like always asleep. It was funny. It was like we'd wake him up and say, we're going to shoot now. He was just, because it's boring, by the way, when you're not in the scene, or even if you are and you're waiting for it to get set up, So he would sleep a lot. That was kind of it. It was just sleep.
How long was the shoot here? Were you here exclusively, or did you shoot?
No, we shot most of it here. I think 4 to 6 weeks we were here. And then we did the Indiana Jones sequence and the Rambo sequence with this process called Introvision. That was, I don't think it's around anymore. It was a poor man's special effects because we couldn't afford the kinds of special effects that are normally afforded. So we did that in LA. That's where they were.
Are there any current plans for Blu-ray release?
Oh, it's funny you should ask that.
He was asking if there's a plan for a Blu-ray release.
Yeah, we've been trying. It's really frustrating. MGM owns the rights to this, and their attitude, we've been actually after them for a year saying, we got a lot of fans of this movie, and I'm sure they'd love seeing a Blu-ray on this. And their attitude is like, if you're not Gone with the Wind, we're not going to release a Blu-ray at this point because, and to some degree I have some amount of sympathy, which is that they're saying, physical product is going away. There's not going to be any physical product after a while. It's all digital, So they're looking at those tea leaves. In the meanwhile, there's a lot of fans like you who would love to see the Blu-ray. We would too. We haven't given up yet, but we've been trying. It's not been. We haven't.
Okay, I saw a hand here. Actually, you haven't had a chance to ask any of these.
Have you got a story in mind for a sequel?
No, we get asked about a sequel a lot. It's funny, it kind of feels in a certain kind of way that UHF, it's not to say we couldn't come up with a good idea for a sequel, but it is to say that it kind of inhabits its own little bubble, for whatever that means. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Your mind hasn't wandered on things that you could do?
Not really. It just feels like, we did that, been there, done that, and it was great, and we had a good time with it, and it is what it is. Like, I don't know, I was going to say, notwithstanding Michael's, issues that he had, because now it's been a long time, so probably a lot of people, maybe some of you didn't even know about that whole story, but it's sort of like getting Michael to do, how could you do a UHF sequel, for instance, without Michael? I suppose you could, we thought about it.
He's starring in a new show.
Michael.
Coming up.
Yeah.
What are you working on now? What other projects do you have going? And do you write for other artists?
I don't write for other artists. There's a screenplay actually that is a kind of a pet project of mine that I'm in the middle of finishing. The screenplay. It is magical realism actually. It's that genre that this story is. It's an amazing story, and I hope to get it made.
We've got 1 minute left. Is there one more question? Are you raising your hand all the way in the back? No? Okay, sorry.
Silly question. Did you do a voice for Johnny?
That was my voice. But probably the reason why you were asking is because I looped it. I'm not even sure why I looped it. I thought I did a perfectly fine job on the set, but I looped it. So, but
my favorite lines is "Give me a steak, medium rare."
Yeah.
It'd be amazing if you could say that right now.
Give me a steak, medium rare.
Al should be with us momentarily, so let's thank Jay for the moment. Ask the questions
Yeah, I did.
Question over here.
I've been dying to ask you this for a while. How come you've never done a Beatles parody?
It just, I think I might have tried to do Free as a Bird when it came out. Gee, I'm a nerd. I don't know, whatever. That didn't work out. Hey Jude was in the polka medley a long time ago. If I come up with an idea that I can work with something with a topical subject matter, I certainly consider it. So I wouldn't rule it out.
Let's acknowledge that quite a few of the cast members are over here. I see Lisa Stefanik, and I don't know everybody's name, so just wave. Hello, how are you? Welcome.
Just say their names and their characters.
Sure.
They'll want to know who they are.
That'd be great. Please go right ahead.
Lisa Stefanik, Phyllis Weaver.
Okay, thank you. So, a question in the back there, skull and crossbones.
Whose idea was the Twinkie Wiener sandwich?
I'm afraid that was mine. Sorry.
Okay, other hands over here, sir.
I don't know if this is in the commentary. I haven't read the commentary. But channel 62, 6 plus 2 is 8. Channel 8, is that a coincidence or?
It all means something. It's up to you to figure it out.
A little off topic of UHF, but I'd like to take you back to 1993 Circus of the Stars. To me, your appearance on the sway pole was one of the most impressive things I think I've seen you do. I was wondering what was going through your mind. And if nobody's seen this before, look up Circus of the Stars, Weird Al on YouTube, and you'll be impressed by what this man did.
Well, thank you. That was after UHF came out and didn't do so well, and I was kind of depressed, and I thought, well, if I die on a sway pole, no big. I figure if I do, at least it'll be on national TV. So, hey, can't lose. No, thank you. That was, I rehearsed for a couple of weeks, and that was, I'm not sure why I did that, frankly. That was, my manager told me, you are never doing that again. In fact, I remember during the dress rehearsal, I should explain what it is. You climb up this ladder up into this pole, and there's no net. There's nothing beneath me. It's like 55, 60 feet up in the air, and literally I would have died if I fell off. And at one point, it's a breakaway sway pole, so it pivots in the middle, you hold on, and it swings around like a big swing. And during the dress rehearsal, I lost my grip, and I scraped down the side, and I kind of ripped up my arms, and instead of being sympathetic, they said, oh, now we got to put makeup on your arms for the final shoot. So, yeah, it was an odd thing for me to do it, but it is on YouTube if you want to check it out.
Other questions, please, over here, please.
So out of all the tours you've done throughout the years and shooting of the movie, what has been the most time-consuming or grueling, the one that's taken the most out of you?
Taken the most out of me?
Yeah, like drained you, physically drained you, mentally drained you.
Well, the touring is more physically draining just because, it's like an exercise workout every night, and the traveling is draining. And they're both fun and exciting in their own way. I should mention that the year that I shot UHF in Tulsa was the year that Michael Jackson wanted me to be his opening act on his European tour. And I turned it down so I could come to Tulsa. It's hard to say. Probably, I usually, when asked that question, I usually say white and nerdy because it's the most autobiographical. And I would sing a few, but I've forgotten all the words. Sorry.
Okay, back here in the center.
What made you decide to do a children's TV show?
The Weird Al show, the Saturday morning thing. That was something that had always been in the back of my mind. I liked doing children's books. I liked the idea of doing a children's TV show. The Weird Al show, there's a whole, you should listen to the commentary on that show if you want to hear what went down there, but that show wound up being a lot different than what we had initially pitched and what I wanted to do. They wanted wanting an educational show because there was an FCC mandate to have educational programming. And I wanted my show to be more just kind of like silly and fun and wacky, and there were parts of that we shoehorned in there, but mostly it was a show that didn't really it wasn't exactly what I would have done if I wasn't being on a very tight leash.
Right here. I was going to ask you about the lead scenes from UHF, what your favorite was, but apparently those aren't homos. Universal one agreed that that's what Gray said and Jay said. So I'm going to ask you something else. You worked a lot with like Tim and Eric. You've been on Comedy Bang Bang. You've been doing a lot of stuff like that, which is really awesome. Have you thought about going into that area of comedy in terms of maybe doing something on a network like that or YouTube or anything like that?
It's all, within the realm of possibility. I mean, I can't mention what I'm kind of pitching around town right now, but I'm making efforts to be more involved in movie projects and TV projects. Again, I'm sort of not at liberty to say. But yeah, I mean, that is my comedic sensibility. I enjoy taking part in things like, the shows that you mentioned, and, my fingers crossed I'll get to do more of those.
Okay, yeah.
I always like hearing about parts of shows that were completely improv or like did not fall the way that you thought it was going to. So I just was curious to know if there was anything like that in UHF where it kind of came out differently than you expected, or there was like a line that was cut wrong or something that.
Most of the movie was done as per the script. The exception being Michael Richards did a couple bits which we knew. We didn't even bother writing something for him because we knew he was just going to do something hilarious, like the thing with him playing with the little army man in the window and doing all that. That was just, okay, Michael, we're going to turn the cameras on and just go crazy. But there were things that were scripted which didn't work out, and we had to improvise, like the dog in the punch bowl scene. That was supposed to be a trained dog that was going to do a little dance and then hop in the punch bowl. It didn't do that, obviously. And after a few hours of trying to get the dog to dance like it was supposed to, I said, here's a different idea. Splash!
Somebody way on the side over there.
Your training within architecture, have you ever...
You can tell by watching the movie, yes. Not really. I remodeled my bathroom once. And that's about it. Yeah, I learned about my third year in college that architecture wasn't my passion. And okay, architecture wasn't my passion, and I didn't know what I was going to wind up doing with my life. And luckily, within a few years out of college, I got a record deal, and now I get to be Weird Al full time.
I'm seeing another hand over here. It's a little hard to see in the dark, but yeah.
Had a couple related questions. First, is there anything you do differently with UHF that now looking back? And secondly, did you get enough rest on set?
Who's been talking? Yeah, I was famous for taking cat naps. Like, oh, we have 10 minutes? Great, I'll be right back. So, if there was Instagram back in 1988, there would have been 1,000 pictures of me sleeping under a couch. What was the first part of the question? I'm sorry.
Is there anything you would do differently looking back?
After UHF failed to do well at the box office, every night before I went to sleep, I thought of 1,000 things I could have done differently. In retrospect, it's hard to say what would have worked differently, but I still re-edit the movie in my mind every night. There's so many things I would have changed or tightened up or just gone a whole different direction. There are parts that I love and I think that work great. A lot of the plot stuff feels a little hacky. It feels like we could have, made it a little bit more strange. It's a very conventional plot. Our thing was like, the plot doesn't even matter. It's just like a bare bones skeleton to hang these gags and parodies on. But we should have probably had a plot that was a little bit, more kooky.
Okay.
my favorite is always my most recent. It's true though. I mean, I say that, but you know, in my mind at least, it's accurate because I always feel like I top myself every time out, and that I get better, and I think that's you know mostly true. My last album is my best album, except for the album that I'm working on right now, which is much better.
Second question. Where do you get your hair?
Sean James cuts it. I'll give you his number.
I'm sure you hear this all the time now, but you were the first rock and roll album my parents let me buy. How many takes when Billy was spitting in your face did you have to take?
You're like the third person tonight that's asked me that. I wouldn't swear to it, but I think 2. We didn't do a whole lot of takes on that. And thankfully the kid had really good aim. But he nailed it. His big problem was he couldn't stop laughing. He would do a great take, spit right in my face, and then he just bust up laughing like, stop laughing! And we used, I think, every single frame of film that we could before he just obviously lost it.
My initial question I answered, which is, are you working on a new album right now? So the only thing I can come up with now is, what's your favorite album cover out of all of them?
Again, and this isn't just because it's the most recent, but I think Alpaca's probably is my favorite cover. Robin Swank, Von Swank did the photography on that, and it's just a really cool concept, and she did it really well. So it looks very heavy metal, so probably that one.
Okay, in the gray shirt, Stephen.
Hi. You've always been a role model as far as musician and artist with integrity. And I just wanted to hear a little bit about your training in music, and because you're so specific with everything. And I have to know, do you really sing the end of the Spy Hard theme? Because it is so high.
Thanks. Yeah, I answered the second part first. From what I remember, yeah, I really did sing that note. And I was originally going to loop it so that it was like unnaturally long, but from what I remember, I actually got through the entire note in one take. And this is before auto tuning or anything like that. I was listening to the song in the lobby, and I was like, yeah, wow, I actually did that, didn't I? And the first part of your question, my only formal musical training really was 3 years of accordion lessons when I was a kid, and everything else I just kind of picked up, on-the-job experience, just like Rick Derringer produced my first 6 albums, and I paid attention. And after that, I felt like, okay, I can hold the reins from now on. And I just hang around with a bunch of very talented, skillful people, and it tends to rub off on you after a while.
Okay, over here, please.
Is there a reason why UHF didn't have more of your original music in it?
Probably because it wasn't a musical. It wasn't intended to be such. We thought that because people know me as a music video parody guy, that we needed to have a centerpiece, like the Money for Nothing thing. But we felt that if it had more than that, it would kind of tip the scales too heavy in that direction, and it would take away from the plot and the flow.
All right, we've been told we're done. So thank
What?
you for
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much.